Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is a video that I've been prepping to make for quite a while, and because of the new Stevie Williams OG re-release, reboot, nostalgia, whatever type of release you would like to call it, that shoe kind of really inspired why I'm going to put out this video now. I've been wanting to do it for quite some time, but just seeing how the shoe market has played into becoming these days, with a lot of the shoes either being rebooted from back in the 90s, the 2000s, and a lot of shoes from today's catalogs that are supposed to be new shoes a lot of them are recycled silhouettes. They are slight remakes of a model that was seen not too long ago, or is now the Volk version of a cup, or cup version of a Volk, or it's too much the same thing. And looking at a lot of companies, especially more of the core companies, that's what is kind of missing from a lot of them, is more of an identity. Everyone's starting to kind of copy a copy of a copy of an original that worked for that one company, but that doesn't guarantee success for the rest of them. And so what I've actually done is I've done and taken a lot of notes. I have a lot of different models on here from multiple different companies, and some of them I might split this video into two videos depending on how long it really goes. Recording this right now, I have no idea what to actually expect for how long it's going to be, so we'll just see on that end. But there's going to be two categories I'm going to go over, which is the nostalgia and the reboot of previous released models, or models inspired by shoes from the past, kind of between 10 to 15 years ago. And then also there's going to be another category where it's just recycled silhouettes. So it's going to be, you're going to see the same shoe or something very similar to it, or something that was already out. They just tweaked one minor little detail and now it's a new model. And again, it's for companies that have outside influence, that are not more core and their market is mostly just to skateboarding, the ones that can branch off into different extreme sports, or to fitness, or to, you know, ball and grass sports, or whatever the case is. Those companies and those type of silhouettes you're not going to see needing to be recycled. The ones that, when it comes to a brand that doesn't have an identity, you're going to see a lot of recycled silhouettes as far as the new catalogs that have been coming out in the last couple of years. And I'm a Slap forum member as well, and I only go to the new upcoming shoe releases one mostly. But for me, looking at those catalogs that they post every now and then, especially, you know, the ones that are more exciting are like the spring, the summer releases. Sometimes fall has some new shoes, but mostly, you know, spring and summer when people are most actively out skateboarding, there's going to be a lot of great releases, supposed to be new models coming out. And again, a lot of this is a lot of recycled materials. And so I'm going to go over some notes, and this is going to be kind of a controversial video as well, more of a discussion, if we can have that in the comments, of what you feel is, you know, the reason for this. If you agree, disagree, couldn't care either way. But with a lot of companies that had gone under that are now back, some companies live off of their nostalgia and their heritage within their brand, which works for them. Some companies stick with the very plain, and they don't have anything super tech. They just keep it very simple type of designs, and that works for them. Some companies try to copy everything that they see around them, and it makes it to where, unfortunately, they fall short and possibly go out of business. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into this real quick and see what you guys think of at the end. So first category we're going to start with is nostalgia.
Alright, so we're going to start off with a brand that I feel is doing very, very well in playing the nostalgia and heritage aspect of keeping a good product line for skate shoes, this is a brand that right now is really hitting home with bringing back the retro style, the retro looks, and even just the retro shoes that we older generation of skaters from 30 years and up have enjoyed when we were kids and now are getting a resurgence of now that we're adults. It's a good brand that when you look at the shoe, it's like, I remember back when, and it makes you want to go and buy a pair. Again, subjective to each person, but for the most part, a lot of us that see these shoes now, it gives us a good nostalgia hit for wanting to actually go and get a pair to kind of relive the the years that we used to wear shoes like this. So I'm going to start with S because I love Soul Tech myself, and it has always been a little bit ahead of the curve for technology aspect of Soul Tech. I feel the more ruggedness comes from America, but when it comes to technology and looking more like a futuristic type of shoe, S was always kind of ahead of the curve in that one. So we have 4 examples on the screen right here: the S Silo, the Symbol, the Swift 1.5, and the Tribo. All of these you can see how they played into shoes from back in the day and have been also very minimally modernized to fit the aspects of what skaters demand today. The Swift 1.5 is more just a kind of a nod to the Muska shoe, and then the Tribo is an entirely other shoe that we'll dig into right now because for me, I just need to talk about it real quick so we can just get out of the way. Kind of going off what I just said, I don't want to sound super contradicting, but when it comes to playing off of a style of shoe that we grew up loving, and then you modernize it too much, or you try to make it to where, when it comes to copywriting, if you tweak enough things, it could still look close to the original and then be called something new. But in this case, bring back the original or just don't bring it back at all. Because if the Costin 3 never existed, the Tribo could be an awesome shoe. I mean, minus this little booger stain thing on the toe. But other than that, the shoe actually could be really awesome. But it it looks like the Costin 3, but it's nothing like the Costin 3. So this is one of those, kind of contradicting what I said just a slide ago, but if you're going to remake something or you're going to bring something back, keep it original or just don't bring it back at all. And this is one of the ones where that it was a miss. It had the Costin 3. If you just never even made that and you bring back, or you have the Tribo coming into the line, that could be a great shoe. But this is just an unfortunate miss. It looks cool, but again, it's like the Costin 3 without being the Costin 3, and I don't like that. So going on a more positive note, though, the Excel line has been staying very true and faithful to how the original Excels look, how they feel, and the comfort when it comes to wearing them, and also just how they keep the time of back in the day when this was one of the more popular shoes, not even just as a team shoe, but just one of the more popular shoes that you would see people in between brands would wear. If you want to play towards people's memories of when they used to skate and they're trying to get back in, or they just want to have the feel of what it was like before, it's very important to keep the original shoe in the line. And making it in a slim, wearing it myself, probably my best clip for anything relevant to the last couple of years and just the battle that ensued. I actually got it in a pair of Excel Slims. I'll link that video part in the description for it's my switch off part I just put out a couple months ago. Anyway, the Excel Slim is a great new remodeled version of the Excel, and being that it has no midsole, it's got amazing board feel. Despite that, you do feel quite a bit when it comes to anything really impactful. You just need to throw in some aftermarket insoles, and then keeping the play on the Excel and the Square 1 that they had before. They had the Square 3, and it's just a one-piece toe version, bulk version of the original Square 1. So great shoes overall. Again, kind of a good example of playing to nostalgia while still being relevant. And so for the next slide, we have the contract. This is another good example of keeping it rebooted as far as everything but the sole. And I believe the main reason that they didn't want to go with the original sole is because the type of sole that they had on the original contract, a lot of people thought it was a really big ankle roller. Having a pair of etnies that had the same kind of sole, I never rolled my ankles. I never felt unsturdy while skating them, and I jumped down a lot of things with them. And I wish I knew what the shoe was called. I forgot it, but it was felt very supportive and very comfortable skating in. And the contract, they keep the same lining in the shoe. They made the toe a little bit more pointed. The vamp of the shoe is a little bit slimmer, but overall it's got the same look, the same lining, and the heel of it, when it comes to the support, is supposed to be the new foam that S is using. I believe it's the Evolution foam. If not, correct me in the comments. So for the next one, we have the scheme. So this one really is probably one of the best examples of playing to the exact model that it was before. Maybe slight little tweaks here and there. It's the same molding, but you see in the sole you have the separation of the different materials on the outsole, then you have the sole itself, whereas down here it's all just one solid piece going all the way around, and you still have the separation for the sole from the actual grip of the sole. So the outsole is still there, and you can see the lining is very similar, if not the same, except for now you don't have an air bubble right here. So that's where you get the extra lines right here, whereas on the original scheme you have the air bubble and then you have the lining going around it, and you have a little bit of a difference in the heel, but overall, looking at the models side by side, it is pretty much the same type of shoe that you got back in the day to now what you can actually wear, and you can still get that same nostalgia feel that you would expect from S. Next one is going to be the DC Lynx. It's not called the Slim, but that's what a lot of people are referring it to because it was the slimmed down version of the Lynx OG. Now, DC is another great brand that plays to the nostalgia aspect of shoes, and the fact that despite it taking many years to do so, they now have the original Lynx in the lineup, and they, from what it looks like, all the collaborations that they're doing with the shoe, with all the colors that they're starting to come out with the shoe, they're going to keep the shoe in the heritage line for an indefinite amount of time. Most likely, especially because the people that really do like the shoe, it's kind of a 50-50 on people that actually do wear it to skate and then people that just wear them and collect them as well. So this is a good example again that they're, now that they actually have in the line, they're playing to the exact look of what the original Lynx was like back in the 2000s, and they did remake it to a slimmed down version where it was just no paneling, it was seamless, it just had a lot of deco stitching. So for anybody that doesn't know, that just means decorative stitching. So it's to make it look like there's different layers or different paneling, but it's strictly just for decoration. It's not for any function really at all. Maybe color popping, and as in this case you see the thermothane toe to make it look like the original Lynx, but other than that there's no real difference to it. And so you have on the sole the Lynx Slim. It doesn't really have the runner toe aspect. It has the look of it because you see the color pop in the red where the sole is right in the toe, but on the original Lynx you have the toe that goes all the way up. So again, another brand that's really good with heritage, keeping the original Lynx in the line. Tried the Lynx Slim. It worked for a little bit. Saw a lot of the team members wearing it, not really a lot of people outside of that wearing it. Overall, DC Lynx Slim, it was a good shoe. I wore it a couple times. It felt great, very comfortable. It was quite thin in the sole, actually, for a cup sole, but overall, you can't replace an original, and I'm glad to see the Lynx back in the lineup. Now we have the DC Legacy OG versus the DC Legacy Slim. So another example of keeping an OG shoe in the lineup, and because you have in the lineup, you can make alterations and make it more modernized for the people that don't like a super bulky shoe, that don't like having something that to a lot of people arguably would feel like a brick on your foot. You can slim it down and still keep the paneling very similar, if not the same, and get the feel of the original and represent it in a very respectful way. And I believe the DC Legacy Slim did a very good job with that. And especially with how people skate their shoes today, it is a little bit of a slimmer vamp than you would expect for the original Legacy OG that you see on the left. But overall, it hits to the nostalgia aspect very, very well, and it looks almost dead on to the original with a few modernized tweaks. It doesn't have the hidden lace loop system that the original does. You have the DC Legacy OG in the lineup, and you have a secondary option for the Slim as well. So another brand playing very well to the nostalgia aspect. And so what this has really been influenced by to make this video is the re-release of the DC Stevie Williams, and with that they're going to be releasing a slim version of the DC Stevie Williams. This is one of the shoes where I believe if you just kept it as the original Stevie, that would be great for the brand. And this shoe slimmed doesn't really play too well to it, because looking at them side by side, it's not really a shoe that you could really expect and see looking good slimmed down, because when it comes to slimming the shoe down, you're not really slimming the sole of it, you're slimming the upper. So looking at the soles, how you can tell them apart is, one, the color pop right here on the side of the outsole. Right here, it's all one solid piece. The lining goes down and then towards the back, on the back of the heel, and then on the Slim, it just only goes down towards the grip on the sole. And with this shoe, you still have the bulkiness over the toes, but the vamp for the rest of the shoe starts to slim down. And so they take away a lot of the padding right around the collar. They take away a lot of the padding around the heel, where it has the heel lock for you. But other than that, it's just too high of a vamp in the front. And for me, having just, again, the original DC Stevie in the lineup plays very well to nostalgia, but them trying to slim it down would be a great option. But I think this is just one of those shoes where it's not meant to be slimmed. It doesn't look as good as it could have been. And again, the vamp in the toe kind of just ruins the look of it, for me at least. Again, everybody has their opinions, but just the fact that they're even bringing the Stevie Williams first, the original one first, and then next couple months they're going to be releasing the slim version, giving good options for those that want to skate an amazing classic shoe, but don't want to have the feel of the early 2000s. They want to have the modernized type of sole and feel for their skating. So next we have the Vans Rally Pro versus the Vans Rally Classic. So Vans Rally Pro is what was originally released for his pro model shoe, and you have the new modernized Rally Classic. So the main real differences from what it looks like in the pictures, I haven't actually gone to see the Rally Classic in person, but the main thing that I see for the differences in the shoe, and from a lot of people who have actually worn the Rally Classic versus the Rally Pro, the Rally Classic is only just very minimally narrower than the Rally Pro, and also the foxing tape on the sole of the Rally Classic is a little bit thicker. Looking at the shoes, you can see where the side paneling for the ollie area goes into the sole over here. It is a lot easier to see through versus you see on the new classic shoe. It is a little bit harder to see, but also could just be the angle of the shoe that is making that easier or harder to spot. Other than that, they're now keeping the Rally Classic in the lineup as part of their heritage lineup, just like they're doing with the Vans Half Cab, and they're keeping this just a staple because it is such a staple of the brand. It was a shoe that really pushed for exactly what Rally wanted, and he fought very, very hard for the details of the shoe, especially keeping it a vulcanized shoe and keeping the side stripe, which back then was a huge deal, and now looking into the lineup of shoes you see today has become something that you see in almost every single model, especially the pro models. So, but again, Aesthetically, it is a good tribute to the Rally Pro, Rally Classic. It is the same look. They can have new materials in it to make it a little more comfortable or a little bit lighter, but the shoe is the exact same thing. So, and for any of you guys that are thinking about this red stripe, and if that is kind of a deal breaker for you, for the people who've already worn it, they said it out a session or two, that just completely comes off. So you don't have to worry about having that on your shoe for very long. So, but that's going to conclude the nostalgia aspect of this video. And the next thing we're going to be going into is the recycled, reused, and just play it safe type of models of shoes. The first one for the recycled, reused, play it safe models. And again, this is playing strictly to the aesthetic. This is not comparing, what it is made of, suede, canvas, leather, synthetic, twill, nubuck, anything like that. It is strictly, this is not about technology in the shoe either. This is strictly just the aesthetic of the shoe, just the look of the shoe. Good example is this, the Vans Old School, Vans TNT Advanced Prototype. Pretty much taking an already known classic, giving it a slight little twist, and now it is a pro model shoe. So it's just a recycled silhouette. We already love the Old School for what it is, for the staple it is in the brand, and then they take a few tweaks, and now it is a pro model shoe. So this is one of those, it's almost like trying to, in a way, take out the classic and replace it with the new pro model shoe. So, again, if the Old School didn't exist, the advanced prototype would be awesome to me, but knowing that the Old School does exist and where the TNT shoe comes from, it's more of a deal breaker for me to even be interested in it. Next is the America Wino G6 and the unreleased America Dixon. So for any of you guys that can see the differences, it's because there's very few of them. Before we even get really into the major differences or lack thereof, for any of you guys that are seeing how it's black with the red stripe right here and then it's white with black, if you just made this top of the foxing tape black, the black lining red, and you look at it from 10 feet away, two different people one person wearing the shoe on the left, one person wearing the shoe on the right, you really won't be able to tell the difference. It looks like damn near the exact same shoe. And so this is, I know Dixon getting on the team, his favorite shoe was the Wino G6, and so he's wanting to model his shoe after that. The problem is the G6 is still in the lineup, and you're now making a shoe that's damn near identically the same. The minor details being the slight more layering towards the eyelets and it connecting to the collar. But other than that, you still have the same America heel hit. You still have the same heel paneling on the shoes, the exact same arch on both shoes connecting to the eyelets, the America symbol in the exact same spot. I mean, I don't know what more needs to be said. This is kind of one of those bad examples of you're just taking a team shoe and making it into a pro model shoe. And so another one is the America Figueroa and the new America team model. All they did was, it's the silhouette is reused because it really just looks like they took the Figgy shoe, added one extra eyelet, and made it vulcanized, and now we have a new team model. Minus the deco stitching that you see on the new team model right here. Other than that, it's the silhouette has been used multiple times already. And another good example of that, just going into the Figueroa, is the Spanky and the Figueroa, which a lot of people jokingly said when Spanky kind of went and disappeared for a while, is when Figgy got his shoe, is they just took the Spanky, took away an eyelet, put Figgy's name on it, and boom, there's a new model. So there's not really a lot left to the imagination for that. Another good example of a silhouette that's just reused over and over again is the Volk versions of all the pro models on the left, being the Reynolds Low G6, the Sue G6, and the Herman G6. Now, 86, the shoes on the left. If you look at the shoes on the right, the aesthetic look of the shoe, the vamp, and the style of the shoe, a lot of it is deco stitching that really separates the shoes. There's not really a lot of creativity when it comes to the shoe. I mean, take away this deco stitching right here, and the shoe is, all the shoes are 2 layers of material. So you have 1, 2 down here. This shoe, 1, 2, and you have 1. This is again all deco stitching. 1, 2, and that's it. The shoes are otherwise not really different from one another. I mean, the price points I think are the Herman G6 Volk is $65, and the other shoes I believe are $60. Again, the only one I would be kind of probably off on is the Sulo Volk. If you look at a shoe wall and you see those shoes, I don't know about anybody else, but I would not be excited to pick between these 3 as they don't really look any different from each other at all. So when you look at the Pro models, the 2 cupsole versions on the left and then the Sue Mid, those shoes all look very different from one another. But unfortunately, when they Volked them, minus the fact that the Sue Mid was a Volk anyway, putting all of those together, they just don't really look any different from one another. So it doesn't make it really exciting to have to choose from for those selections. Another blatant example, and I really don't want to do this one just because the Pro Slim is no longer in the lineup, but this is kind of one that I've been feeling since I've seen it. The America Reynolds Cruiser, the Provost's first Pro model, and then the eventual Provost Slim, which all of it was based off of Reynolds Cruiser, and then Provost was wearing that a lot besides the Reynolds 3, and decided when it came to getting a Pro model that he wanted to base his shoe entirely on the Reynolds shoe, adding the America symbol on the side paneling, and that was it. Then they slimmed that shoe, which is already a slim shoe as it was, which damn near looks like an identical match to the Reynolds Cruiser minus the eyelet closest to the top and the heel hit on the Pro Slim versus the Reynolds Cruiser, and otherwise is an identical looking shoe to the Reynolds Cruiser. This is the one I really didn't want to do because I really like Leo. And it just unfortunately was the most blatant example of recycling the same silhouette over and over again. I'm not pronouncing his third shoe on the list because I just know I'm going to butcher it. But regardless, the reason I put it on there is because aesthetically, the shoe has the exact same vamp and look as the other shoes, minus the fact that it has 1 less eyelet and it has this extra little layer of material. It's pretty much a toe bumper that goes all the way back to the heel though. But other than that, aesthetically it is the exact same shoe minus that toe bumper and 1 extra eyelet, same thing. So Leo, even the top one is his colorway for the original laced. He took a shoe that he was wearing a lot, and when it came down to his Romero 2, aesthetically the exact same thing as the laced, except they just beefed up the midsole of the shoe. Then he has his third model shoe, and that didn't sell very well. When it came down to making a new shoe, they decided between playing to his first Pro model shoe and his Romero 2, they made a new type of sole and took the laced and just put it together, and now it's the Romero laced. But aesthetically, if you look at them from a distance, all those shoes, they all look exactly the same. It's the same recycled silhouette over and over and over again. This one is not super obvious because it goes from Danny Garcia's second Pro model shoe to the Aura. The Aura is a very slimmed down version of the Garcia 2, but as far as the silhouette of the shoe, it was the exact same shoe, and unfortunately the Aura didn't sell very well. That's why if you actually go to the S website now, it is on sale. Another shoe that is just being recycled constantly over and over and over again is the Janowski shoe, where you have on the top the original shoe, then you have the remastered down below it, and then right below the original OG is the high tape version, which was the Shane O'Neill quote unquote pro model shoe that they were promoting for a moment, and then it was just his colorway. So, and that's because he wears a shoe religiously, but regardless, the difference in the shoes is the fact that the Janowski remastered, what they did to remaster it compared to the original is, if you look at all of the sides of the paneling on the original one, it has this leather hit that goes all the way around. And what they did on the remaster was they just wanted to make the shoe as flat to the paneling as possible, so it's a lot less likely to bust through or the stitching to fall apart. Is they just wanted to flatten it out as much as possible, less chance of the grip tape actually separating the two layers and busting through. Then they had the high tape, which is the foxing tape, go up a lot higher than your traditional Janowski did, so that way it would create more durability, it would be able to last a little bit longer and perform to what would be a higher expectation of the shoe. So as far as having the high tapes, I'm not sure if they still have them in the line, but the Janowski Remastered is now in the line, and it is just, it's a silhouette where they're just trying to beat a dead horse. They've done almost every alteration with this shoe, and I'm not going to be surprised if they continue to do the same thing going into the future. The Dunk Low versus the Dunk Low Ashad Wear Pro. So for a while, they didn't really have a problem giving certain pros their own pro model shoes on Nike, but after a while, instead of actually giving certain pros the models that they deserved, they decided to take a already existing silhouette and just say, hey, tweak it slightly and we'll give that shoe to you. And the thing is, what sucks for the fact that it's been reused is they still have the Dunk Low in the line, and they had that next to the Ashad Wear Pro. So if you're trying to give him that pro model, take the Dunk Low out of the equation and just keep it the Ashad Wear Pro, so that way he's getting the sales that he really deserves. Otherwise, aesthetically looking at them side by side, there's not really anything different between the two shoes, and you're just cheaping out and keeping the molding as far as the cost down for the shoe, letting them change very few things about the shoe aesthetically, and then boom, you have a pro model shoe instead of giving them an actual redesigned shoe that they actually deserve. Speaking of cheaping out and just putting someone's name on an already existing shoe, the Corey Kennedy All Court, the fact that he was just wearing that for a lot of his videos at the time, it wasn't a shoe that wasn't even an SB. It was just a shoe that he saw, oh, toe caps are in. I like this shoe. It flicks good. It's got good board feel. I'm just going to wear it. And so a lot of people were going on eBay trying to buy the shoe up before it became, $80. Now also they have $80. And with this shoe still being the lineup, they brought out the Blazer Low XT, which means extra tough. It's the exact same shoe. Looking at it from a distance, it is the exact same shoe. The minor differences are the Corey Kennedy All Court has a much slimmer sole. The Blazer Low XT has a thicker sole, and it has the detailing all throughout the sole of the shoe, or the foxing tape on the sole of the shoe, whereas the Corey Kennedy All Court is just flat. It doesn't have any texture to it. The Corey Kennedy has the deco stitching on the side. This one does not. But other than that, it's the same exact shoe. And it's almost like they're trying to take sales away from the Corey Kennedy All Court because they already had the Blazer in. The shoe they already had remodeled from the Blazer was the Grant Taylor Pro Model shoe. Again, part of their recycled program, just to keep the molding reused, to keep the cost down. They just put his name on it, slim it down very minimally, and then boom, it's a brand new shoe. But the thing is, they're now having the Blazer Low XT in the line or right next to the Corey Kennedy All Court, which is ridiculous. Just keep one or the other. You have that shoe in the lineup. And the Blazer is already a staple to the brand. Why bring a competition within your own brand and possibly keep money out of someone's pocket that would have deserved it? Lakai Cambridge and Lakai Bristol. Now, these two shoes are not the same thing. They're both out in the catalogs for Lakai right now. But I wanted to compare a shoe that the styling on the shoes are becoming very recycled within the shoe. So again, the vamping is not really the same, but the styling on the shoe is getting reused too much to an extent that you look at the paneling on the back of this one, because this one actually has multiple layers. The Bristol is all one solid piece. You have the shoe lining goes from the heel, goes towards the collar, wraps around the collar, goes around to the front and around the eyelet. Same exact thing right here on the Bristol. Then you have the deco stitching that goes from in front of the flare, goes up and rainbows around towards the sole again. Same exact thing on the Bristol. Then you have the deco stitching that goes all the way across the toes on the Cambridge. Again, same exact thing on the Bristol. As far as aesthetics, the shoes, if you look at them side by side, obviously you can tell one shoe from the other, but they just don't have personality because they both are trying to consume the exact same thing. They're trying to have the same type of look within two different silhouettes, and it just, to me, it's not very pleasing. It doesn't make me want to pick either of them, even though if I was to pick one, it would be the Cambridge. But that's just depending on each person's taste. Now, this one, the Lakai Howard Select versus the new Newport Low shoe that came out. This is kind of one of those shoes that it was a tribute to the Howard Select, but the thing is, if you're going to why not just bring it back? It was a shoe that was very loved. It was one of the shoes that was one of the best sellers when they did the Select program, because they had the Pro model shoes and then they had the Selects, which was the bulk versions of those Pro models, before they decided to say, let's just give you the chance to either make a Pro model cupsole shoe or a Pro model Volk shoe. Back then, you had both, because you always would go with the cup first, then you would select it, quote unquote, and make it a Volk version. Now, they're having the Newport Low, which is supposed to be a tribute to the Howard, but the thing is, it's just reusing the same silhouette. I mean, the lining is the exact same thing. By comparison, the only difference is, with this colorway of the Newport, it has the giant flare on the side, but if you look at a colorway like the Theories one that they did, the collab that they did with Theories, it does have the flare away from the side paneling, and it would otherwise look like the exact same shoe. This is one of those where I feel it was an injustice to Stevie Perez, because his first Pro model shoe is a recycled silhouette of a shoe that was out not too long before he got his Pro model. So the Mariano was out not 5 years before Stevie got his shoe, minus the slight differences in the fact that the Flacco does not have the giant flare on the side. It just has the Lakai tag next to the eyelets close to the collar. But other than that, the stitch detail makes the shoe look almost identical to its predecessor. And especially for a first Pro model shoe, like your debut Pro model shoe, to me, it feels like an injustice to Stevie Perez and giving him what almost could have been arguably Mariano's Pro model shoe after he left the brand. This is one of those, to me, that the fact that they vulcanized it didn't surprise me, but the fact that they took away the cupsole version of it is a little bit of an injustice, in my opinion, because they already have so many shoes that look like the Fremont Volk. They don't have many cupsole shoes in the lineup today, but they have a lot of shoes that look like the Fremont Volk. For example, they have the Griffin Volk that looks almost identical silhouette-wise to the Fremont Volk. Both have a giant one-piece toe. Both have the way that the paneling goes up towards the eyelets, and they both have the same type of collar details, minus the fact that because it comes from the original cupsole shoe, it has the detailing on the first eyelet. Other than that, it almost looks like the same type of shoe. The Griffin Volk's flare is a little bit larger, and the Fremont Volk's heel paneling comes back or comes forward a little bit more. But other than that, it's almost identical to the exact same shoe. And another good example from Lakai, one I felt that they did Vincent Alvarez a little bit dirty on, where a lot of people had been asking for a very long time for the Manchester Cupsole to come back. And so that was probably Lakai's staple team cupsole shoes, because if people didn't have pro models or they were, getting flow from Lakai, it was a great shoe. It was very simple. It was very supportive. It flicked amazingly, especially for just, again, how simple the shoe is. And it had a great toe. It wasn't huge, but it wasn't too small. And it kept its shape very, very well. So they decided to select it. Being at the time that they did around Fully Flared, they selected all the Pro Model shoes, making the Cupsole team shoe go to a select is not out of the ordinary for them. But when it came time to giving Vincent Alvarez his first Pro Model shoe, all they did was they took the panel stitching that separated the side panel from the toe, they moved that behind the flare, and the shoe looks identical to the team shoe that it came from. Then, for his second shoe, they just thinned it out even more, as far as they made the vamp a little bit smaller, and they just decided to take the panel lining and the stitching and they put it back in front of the flare. And I know a lot of it is just for color pop because it doesn't really do anything, but they took a already recycled look and just continued to recycle it even more. So the only real difference that you can see just from the photos is the fact that the heel paneling is more pointed on the Vincent Alvarez 2 versus the Vincent Alvarez 1 or any of the Manchester models as well. And another bad example of this is even worse. After they took away his second Pro Model shoe, they decided to just take his original shoe, widen the lining behind the flare, and they turned it into yet another shoe, except it was a team shoe. Other than that, it looks exactly the same. There's nothing special or nothing distinguishable between the two shoes that gives it its own different personality. It's just recycling the same thing over and over. And but the thing is, if you have to recycle the same thing, the first time it fails, that should tell you that the shoe doesn't work. The first time it fails, that should tell you that the shoe's not working, for whatever reason it may be. Despite the fact that the Manchester was one of the most beloved shoes that they had, making it a bulk version and putting Vince Alvarez's name on it, taking away his pro models, and then just taking that original shoe, widening the stripe behind the flare, and then making it a team model, and Vince was wearing it. Almost like saying, I want to wear this shoe again. I want to wear my Pro Model shoe again, so I'm going to wear the next closest thing to it. So last but not least is the Adidas Indoor Super and the Adidas Lucas Premier ADV. This is more of a nod to where the upper came from, and the fact that for people that might see this as a stretch, to me even it seems a little bit like a stretch as far as it looking identical to its predecessor. But if you look closely at the details, if you take away the deco stitching on the Indoor Super, it almost is the exact same shoe to an extent. And the reason I say that is because this inner Volk wrap lining above the cupsole of the shoe, it kind of is complemented on the Indoor Super. Again, the Indoor Super came way before the Lucas Premier did. But as far as the aesthetics for the look, you have this suede paneling on the side that is more complemented on the Lucas Premier by the inner Volk wrap. And you have the traditional cupsole shoe on the very bottom. You have the heel paneling, which looks exactly the same. You have the top of the heel color hit, which looks exactly the same. And you have the fact that it would right here would be canvas. It's a different material right over here behind the stripes. Different material right here, which would be the mesh behind the stripes. And then you have the suede toe. So as far as the look of it, it is very similar. Again, this is the one that I would say is like the most stretch of all of these. But it is where the inspiration for Lucas Premier ADV came from. They decided to put the new sole on the very bottom of it and then give it to him as his pro model. But that's where the inspiration came from. So, but now that it's come to the end of the video, I just want to know, what are you guys' thoughts? I'm actually very curious. Again, this is a very long video. I knew this video would probably go well longer than expected. There's a lot of things that I didn't even really touch on because I didn't want this video to be over an hour long. I could easily talk about this stuff all day. But I'm very curious to know what your guys' thoughts are on this, especially because as skaters, when it comes to picking shoes, we're all affected by these type of decisions, these type of shoe choices that we have, and the fact that a lot of these are just being recycled constantly over and over. For some people that like the silhouettes, it's great. For other people that don't really care for them and want to see something new from a brand that you know, that you love, that you've grown up with, and there's not really anything new coming down the line, it's a concern for whether the shoe brand is going to stay around any longer than it is. Do you care for the nostalgia aspect of it? Do you care for the fact that you get to see a lot of recycled, reused, play it safe, just to kind of have things in the catalog style? Do you care for it? Do you like it? Or what do you feel about it? I'm very curious to kind of get a discussion going in the comments to see where you guys all stand. And the main way that any of us can change any of this is by speaking with our wallets, paying into the shoes that, yes, there's a lot of choices out there, but if for a style of shoe that you want to see around, maybe it's not a super popular shoe, but you like the shoe, don't worry about following the trends. Follow what you like. Go with what feels comfortable for you. If you like the content and you want to see more, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification to be notified whenever I do a new upload. And go ahead, and again, if you like the video, please give it a like, comment what you feel down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.